Natty and Chestin. How you doing, bro?
I'm good, man. Trying to stay dry on
Yeah,
this rainy day outside.
I know, but it's all right. We'll get through it.
Oh yeah.
Honestly, I want to kind of just talk about today of like things that could go wrong in 2025, and because we're at the year end already. With my experience, running my practice is, I think it's way better to understand like what could go wrong because we kind of, if you're a business owner, you have to be really optimistic, right? And we tend to live in an optimistic land, which is where we need to be, but we also got to be grounded in reality of what could go wrong. Like the best thing would be like you want to be able to see the iceberg before you hit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that
So you
way,
can avoid it.
you're not Titanic, right?
And a lot of times, I think too, as business owners, at least for me personally, we tend to be rose-colored glasses on everything, and we think that things aren't going to happen. Um,
yeah.
but it definitely helps to be prepared, and hopefully, given our collective experience, we can kind of provide just kind of maybe a peek around the corner about some of the things that might come up, and just so you can kind of start to think about and make contingency plans and just be prepared for when those things do happen.
Well, I can tell you right now, like this is my raw feeling is that when you're a clinic owner in healthcare, all the decks are like stacking against you. And what I mean by that is that, small business don't get treated well as big business. We don't get like a bailout. Like,
Yep.
like GM can make the worst car every single year, and then there's always a bailout from the government, right?
Yep.
That's unfortunately does not happen to us. The one thing top of my mind that is a really good example of kind of government overreach, especially when it comes to small business. Have you heard of the BOI thing that they try to implement and it would just rule unconstitutional?
I think so, but refresh my memory and everyone listening.
Yeah. So here, I'm going to share my screen, and I think everyone needs to understand what's going on here. Um, so this is the BOI. So beneficial owner information, right? So they just started enforcing this like pretty much like last month. I got a call from my accountant like, hey, listen, you need to really fill this out because if you don't fill it out, you are going to end up with a $10,000 fine. And every single day that you don't file it, it's another $500 per day, right? So essentially what the government is trying to do is pretty much have us report every single business that you own and the equity and the assets that go into the business, which luckily someone fought on our behalf in the state of Tennessee, saying that like, hey, that is like governmental overreach,
Yeah.
right? Because for like the big company doesn't have to really do this. For all of us to go ahead and do this and punish us with a 10K fine, and also guess what? When you fill out this form, you have to pay money to fill out the form.
Oh, I'm sure, of course.
Right. So I think based on the data that people were saying is like by them doing this and forcing this on small business owners, they will most likely generate like, I think like 20 to 30 million by just the forms alone.
Oh, easily.
Right. And then
Yeah.
they're going to be snooping around on your business.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, look, like they're making this much, they're doing this. And guess what? All that information can get passed on to where? The IRS.
Yep.
And then, last year they hired what, an 80,000
like
more IRS agent.
IRS agents. Yeah.
Yep. So right in and there, the deck is a stack against us. And good news when it comes to this is now you don't have to do it because it's ruled unconstitutional.
Yeah.
Until they appeal it. I don't think once they appeal it, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to go through. So good news is like if you guys are listening to this, you don't have to fill this out now, which is huge. So that's the first thing that has to do with the government overreach, right? So like when you're a small business owner, you have to understand that like during COVID, yeah, there were like EIDL loan, but there's also like SBA loan that people were giving out. But guess what? When the SBA loans come out, where did it go to? They go to all the big corporations first.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Because big corporations have really good lobbying power.
Yep.
Where for us, because we're not a united front, because we all run our own businesses, there's no lobbying power. And especially in healthcare. Healthcare is an industry where the people who works in it does not have a say.
Absolutely. Yep.
So, if I talk to my friend at the APTA, they would say, "Hey, we're really working really hard to get this bill passed." But then, how long is that going to take?
Yeah.
Right. So,
Well, and
understand rule and
add
regulation.
to that, you've got these big corporations, pharmaceuticals, and healthcare giants that have deep pockets to spend and make sure that their best interest is looked after. When at the end of the
Hmm.
day, the little guy, the small single owner, facility, clinic, practitioner, whatever it may be, like you say, because there is no collective, I don't want to say bargaining. It's not really a union because there's no unity, and there aren't those
Hmm.
deep pockets. There's really no one looking out for the little guy. So it
Yep.
definitely makes it a challenging environment in which to succeed.
Yeah. So the number one thing in 2025 that I would be personally aware on is like policy procedure
Yeah.
that is coming down from the government, like for the overreach. So that's number one. Number two, and we can go into this just from the whole thing that happened with the United Healthcare CEO. Again, may he rest in peace. I don't think. I think the feel is bad, but I don't think anyone should lose their lives over it.
Yeah.
And also, that doesn't reinforce real change at all. The one thing that's I would like to share is this right here, just to see like how much denial rate that United Healthcare compared to the industry standard. So industry average is 16% denial rate claimed by insurance. United was able to do it for 32, which is double, right?
Wow.
So, dude, it's wild.
That's crazy. I mean, that's insane.
So what that means is that you're gonna if you're at cash base, like you're gonna be dealing with denial rate. And I talked to so many people within the health insurance landscape where now it's literally common knowledge where the first thing they do when you get the claim is they deny it
Yeah.
regardless. So once they deny it, you're gonna have to need manpower or resources and get the patient involved to fight the denial
Yeah.
in order for you to get pay.
Yeah.
Right now, when that happens, it's gonna stretch your resources extremely thin.
Even more so than
And
they already are.
exactly, and your day of collection is gonna go so much farther.
Yeah.
So what that means is that this is real world scenario, right? I had a patient that came in at the end of July. We sent out his claim directly to his provider, his insurance provider. The insurance provider, what they do is that they reject the claim, but then they send that claim to a third party payer, right? So for you guys who are not listening, who don't understand what third party payer is, it's a company that has nothing to do with the main insurance company. It's a third party company that comes in, take the claim, and they will give you reimbursement based on industry average, which is based on in network rate, right? So patient came in at the end of July. We got third party payment at 75% less than what we were looking to get paid for, right?
So you
So
basically get a
then,
75% haircut
yep,
on a service.
yeah, so less, right? And then we didn't have to go fight the third party claim and say, hey, we're not taking this and we're not part of this. Please
Yeah.
send this claim back to the main insurance provider. That's taken another 30 days to process.
Yeah.
And then another 30 days to call and say, hey, where's this claim? They're like, oh, sorry, we that's going to take another 30 days. Right.
Yeah.
So we got the patient involved and everything. Long story short, dude, we end up getting pay for that date of service ending up July on November, the end of November.
Yeah.
So if you're running a business, that's totally screwing up your cash flow,
Absolutely.
right?
That's what I was gonna say. I mean,
And
it's not see a patient today, get paid tomorrow. It's see a patient today, hope you get paid in 90 to 120 days.
exactly. And here's what's going to happen. If they see that USC is getting away with this at 32% denial rate, what would stop other insurance companies from following the same suit?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right. So
I mean,
that's another.
yeah, we could go on and on about the whole insurance game, but it definitely is not consumer centric.
No.
It is very much skewed in favor of the insurance companies. Because
Yep.
they have processes in place to minimize payouts, to maximize pain of getting paid by providers, reducing the amount of benefits that the actual, insured person receives. So, I mean, and again, we could go on and on and on about the challenges of that model. But
Yeah.
it's
And then,
definitely, as a clinician, as a business owner, it's something you absolutely have to factor into when thinking about how are you going to accept payment?
mhm,
What's your cash flow look like? How are you managing your cash flow to make sure that you can cover providing service today, but not getting paid for however many days it is, before you actually get paid. So those are things that add to the complexity of just running a business, keeping the lights on, providing valuable service, getting, patients through the door. Now you've got to add that layer of complexity and challenge to it. It just makes the game even that much more of an uphill battle, so to speak.
exactly. And then another thing that's is crazy is that in New Jersey, they roll out a healthcare transparency act where us, the provider, especially our network, has to be upfront with how much the cost of the care is going to be,
Yeah.
by telling like, hey, at like, here's how much we're looking to get reimbursed, right? Our cash rate is 349. We're looking to get reimbursed at that rate, right? Whatever your insurance doesn't cover, that's your balance, right? That's how much we're being upfront. Now, the kicker to that is that insurance company does not have to uphold by the same rule.
Yeah.
So, they don't have to tell the patient that they're going to send their claim to a third party provider. They're just going to do it. Right. And the patient might have no idea what the hell that is. Right.
Yeah.
And then what's going to happen is that, all right, also, here's another statistic. Did you know that I believe like 30 or like 28% of people who file bankruptcy is due to medical expense?
Yeah. Yeah. I knew that. I knew it
Yeah.
was ridiculously high. Yeah.
Yep. So it's because of that. It's because people denying care. And then when you go to hospital, you end up with this huge bill,
Yeah.
which insurance say, oh no, it's going to be elective. And
Which,
if you look,
which even still, a lot of those services you may not need, but
Mhm.
because the hospital knows, or because the provider knows they can get paid for that, they're going to perform those procedures or whatever the case may be, oftentimes without your consent or your approval, and they're just going to
Yep.
send you the bill.
Yep.
I knew that. So, we had a baby, my daughter's now 5.5, but she was born a month early. And because she was born a month early, the hospital automatically sent the NICU team. Well, we
Mm.
got billed something like $12,000 or $15,000 just to have two nurses in the birthing room because she was quote unquote premature. They didn't do
Mhm.
anything. They didn't touch her. She didn't go to the NICU. She came out. She was totally fine, but we still got billed like 12 or 15,000. I don't remember what it was, some ridiculous sum, just because she was a month early, and so they deemed her as premature. So it's things like that where, again, these providers, because they know they can get paid, because they don't have to get consent for certain things, or they're going to claim that they have to do this because it's procedure or whatever the case may be. Us as
Mhm.
the consumer got stuck with, that bill. And we went to the insurance company and they're like, or whoever it was, the hospital, and they're like, well, sorry, that's just the way it works. And we ended up having to pay a ridiculous amount for services that we didn't even receive.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, that's happening everywhere. And again, hospital system is a business, so I can see why they're doing that, right? They can say, hey, we just
Oh,
want to
sure.
be on a safe side, which I totally get. But then if you read any of the comment after like the video was released, like most of the comment was all about like how certain services that people got, they were denied, right?
Yeah.
Like that they would deem as you know elective
Elective.
when it's
Yeah.
when it's not. And then for us, like we have an incident where we had a high school athlete who tore ACL, and as soon as she was able to walk up and down the stair, they start denying care immediately. And luckily we have a mom who's very involved,
Mm-hmm.
and she say, I'm entitled for 60 visit.
Yeah.
Like, let me use 60 visit.
Yeah.
And to the point where she was on the phone with them, she escalated to report it to New York State of what they were doing.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as she escalated that, then they say, okay, fine, we'll let you use it.
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
the perfect analogy would be you bring your money to the bank and then you're like, you know what, I'm gonna go take out my money. And the bank
Yeah.
say, no, we don't have your money.
Yeah.
Like, and you really can't take it off, right? So if you're gonna collect your premium every single month and they say you have X amount of visit that you get to use and you don't get to use them and they're gonna deny you,
Yeah.
you're gonna have to fight like hell. And this is why we position ourselves here to make sure that we're like upfront with the patient with every single thing.
Yeah.
And that's why we have like a billing team in house and all of that stuff to fight for the claim. But then what that means for us in healthcare, and this is going to be the landscape of healthcare going forward, is that, you know, provider like myself who value patient care and getting great outcome, we're going to have to collect things up front, right? And now what that means is that it's going to go into, it's always going to fall back onto the patient, right? Because if we're collecting things up front, now the patient have to pay their premium, but then they also have to budget to make sure they can pay for the services up front and then get paid on the back end later.
Yeah.
And if they get paid on the back end later and they send, you know, your claim to a third party, guess what? Whatever you get paid is going to be less and you're going to have to keep fighting to get your money back.
Yeah.
So that's created a huge mistrust in the medical community.
Yep.
Right. And that's why I've been like speaking so vocally about this whole thing, because like patients don't know, because whatever company they work for, their human resources sign up for that plan.
Yep.
And they don't know the fine line that, like, because insurance company is entitled to have third party payer negotiate their rate, even though the patient themselves did not consent to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one way we're combating that is like, we're having a straight up conversation up front with the patient. We create a form explaining what third party payer is, and when this happen, which most likely will, what they can do to take action, right? So I literally create a form, super robust, where I tell them exactly where they need to contact when in New York State or in New Jersey State, so they escalate this to that department immediately, right?
Yeah.
Because what they're doing is absolutely unjust.
Yeah. And I think, yeah. So I just want to make sure that we don't just identify the problem, but also provide recommendations for how people can like address that and, you know, create contingencies or head those problems off. And I think you really touched on that there. And it's really comes down to educating your patients on the process, what to expect, what their insurance company is probably going to do, and then the steps that they can or potentially may need to do in order to maximize their benefits and get the things that they really, you know, in principle should be entitled to.
Yep.
And so, you know, I think as a clinic owner, it's important to think through those scenarios, whatever, you know, wherever your state is, whatever the process is, you've got to understand that. And if you don't, find someone that does and understand how you as a business can, number one, protect yourself and make sure that you're getting the maximum payout that you can from those plans. But then two, how can you also engage the patient in that process? So as you're talking about packages and you're talking about solutions and plans of care and whatever the case may be, you're also tying in there solutions and ways and things that they need to do outside of the treatment room to maximize their benefits and get the best results that they can, not just in doing the exercises and listening to your advice, but also taking proactive steps to make sure that they're getting, you know, the coverage and the benefits that they are entitled to, you know, from their insurance. So does that add more responsibility? Yes, it does. But now that you have that in place, like, what does that do for your positioning and your relationship with the patients that are meeting with you and you're explaining these things?
Yeah. I think for us is the one message we always trying to get clear is for you to be healthy, you have to be an active participant in that whole journey.
Yep.
It's not a passive thing where, you know, you can go into your in-network clinics and you pay your copays, but guess what? You're going to get lesser care because they need to see higher volume in order to, you know, sustain their business model, right? So if you go in network and you're in New Jersey, the provider that's seeing you in network is probably getting paid like $58, $60 at most, right? And then they're going to have to see at least four patients an hour.
Yeah.
So that's 15 minutes with the patient themselves.
Yeah.
Right. So now
you can't do anything in 15 minutes.
No, you can't do anything in 15 minutes, and you're going to delay the fact that they're going to get well sooner.
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
again, if you have athletes, you have patients have high aspiration, right? The one thing that they value the most is time and how quickly they can solve this problem.
What's that saying? The best ability is availability.
Yep, exactly.
So
So
if you're not available, and you're delaying the length of time that it takes to complete your treatment and get back to full strength and full health, you're just delaying the opportunities. You're missing out on opportunities because you're not
mhm.
able to participate. You're not able to compete.
Yeah, and another thing that you can do, and that I'm personally doing it in my clinic to solve this, is making sure we are communicating with the right people, that
Yeah.
they understand that, like, hey, if your value is getting back sooner, not wasting your time, and you value your health, and you're an active participant in your own journey, and you can budget your way to getting the care that you need, then you'll be in really good shape,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because what that means is that you're not beholden by the insurance, or when you are beholden by the insurance because they're reimbursing you at a lower rate, you know exactly what you need to do, and you have a team of people that will point you in the right direction to do those
Yeah.
things.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing that I've heard is that when even in network, dude, people are still getting crazy amount of bill,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's literally facing the problem up front in the beginning with a team that can help you solve those problems,
Yeah.
or you go to someone and you just rely on your benefits, and next thing you know, you get a 20 grand bill at the end.
Yeah.
And
And,
then
and
when
go
sorry,
ahead.
let me finish this. And
Yeah.
then once you get that bill, guess what? The in-network clinic that you're working with is a big corporation. What are they going to do? They're going to send you a collection.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because and then you're gonna have to end up paying that $20,000 bill regardless, and it's gonna ruin your credit score.
Yeah. 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 And I would say that I think that really points to the opportunity that you have as a business owner, as a clinic owner, to position yourself as that trusted authority. It's not just
Mhm.
the rehab process. It's not just the recovering from injury or surgery or wanting to perform better, but it's also educating, helping them become an educated consumer so that when they make a decision about who to go to for those rehab or performance training services, they understand the whole picture that goes into it, not just the physical, but also the financial and the time commitment required that it's going to take. And so I think that's an opportunity, you know, thinking about how can you head those problems off? Like, how can you get in front of that and educate more people about the challenges of about the insurance process so
Mhm.
that they can make a good decision up front and avoid a lot of those problems on the back end, whether it's delayed recovery or whether it's having to pay that full, the full price, regardless of where you go. Like, those are opportunities, I think, to position yourself as the clear cut favorite and the clear cut best option, not only again, because of the treatment that you provide and the way that you go about your treatment, but also because of the way that you're going to help them make sure that they're, avoiding time consuming phone calls and having to constantly work with the insurance company to try to get reimbursed. And so again, creating content, educating your marketplace, putting yourself out there and helping people understand the downfall and the pitfalls of the typical reimbursement model is going to help open up opportunities for you to then have those conversations about your treatment methodology and the way that you can help them get healthy, through your services, through physical therapy, and get a better result time wise, shorter amount of time, but also financially, and just saving those headaches of having to fight and battle with their insurance company.
Exactly. And another thing too, as you're tackling on this problem, you understand that people are gonna have to, pay out of pocket to receive great service. Then that mean my job now, I always think about this is I need to be educating my team and my patient about what's going on ins and out. But also I'm always looking for ways to create more value,
Yeah.
right? If they're paying out of pocket, I want them to be like, this is the best money I've ever spent.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's, yeah, they're coming in to get great care, but guess what? They'll get more resources,
Yeah.
right? Like, you and I were talking about, I'm building a community to help. Like now we're starting out with all my pitching athletes,
Mm-hmm.
community to have like constant communication and also like video analysis, right? Things
Yeah.
that they know, like, oh crap, like I'm going to need this long term.
Yeah.
Right. And then we're going to expand that into our ACL community. I'm looking to build one for the parents as well, because the parents also need help.
Yep.
Right. Like so many times where I get texts from parents like nervous that the kid's going back on the field for the first time.
Yeah.
right? Or they themselves, they are patient. They're like, hey, I'm about to go on this big trip. Like,
Yeah.
I'm freaking out. Like, what should I do?
Yep.
Right. To be able to have that community, that would be a huge thing. It's all about going towards value creation. Like,
Yep.
what else are they going to need besides that? Like, what else
Yeah.
are we going to do besides this? And that's why, dude, like my new book's coming out at the end of this month on the 23rd. And the reason why I spend so much time writing about it is because that's value creation.
Yep.
At the end of the day, let's say, for example, they say, hey, we can see you literally, it's not possible. I say, hey, listen, like this book is literally $20.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you're going to get everything that you're going to get if you were in here. If you were in person, yeah, we can guide you, we can give you a roadmap. You'll get there sooner. But with this book, at least it'll give you a path.
Yeah. Make sure you're
Right.
headed in the right direction. Yep.
Yeah. And then, like, again, you mentioned creating content. Like, for me, like, creating content provides so much value because it gets us in front of the right people to value what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And then we can start communicating. And B, the biggest thing is give people hope.
Yeah.
That if they are like just tear their ACL and they just do that, like, okay, other people like me are going through it. So if they're able to get success, so can I.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And these are things that, again, as a business owner, it costs us money to create value. But what I'm trying to do is, how do I create value that people can see substantial return based on when they made that decision to come work with us?
Yeah. And I would say it doesn't cost you money as much as it's an investment, because it's evergreen in the sense that you put the cost, you put the time, the effort, the resources into it one time. And with technology, with the internet, with books, whatever the case, it's going to pay dividends. It's going to be evergreen. And so you're going to benefit from that for many years to come. You may have to tweak and adjust it, but you're not have to go through that upfront cost to create the bulk of that content. And so, I would almost challenge people to look at more as an investment as opposed to a cost, because it is absolutely going to produce ROI. You may not be able to tie it directly back to, dollars and cents, but overall it will have an impact and will have an effect, a positive effect on the overall results that you're going to get.
Yeah. And last thing that I would mention that would absolutely be an iceberg, probably most important thing that you're going to hit in 2025 is, we mentioned lack of trust, but so lack of trust that come with lack of communication.
Mm-hmm.
So if the patients are coming into your door, and as they come to my door, they usually been to PT before, they've been let down before.
Yep.
And they also going to assume that all PTs are the same.
Yep.
Just like if you date one girl who's bad, you're going to say all girls sucks. And then you're like, what are you going to do? Not going to date again?
Yeah.
And, be alone? No, that wouldn't work. Right. So our job is to always over communicate.
Yep.
And, we spend a lot of time just communicating with our patient, especially who wants to work with us. Like, we call them, we send them resources so that way they can make informed decision.
Yep.
So if you're not investing in having channel means to communicate with people, then guess what? Like, then you're going to be, you're going to lose to the industry standard every single time.
Yeah.
Again, even though the industry standard is so low, the fact that there's so many noise blocking out, you're not going to win and not going to be able to help patient. Right.
Yep.
Like, so that's something I'm really focusing on, because that's going to be the key to get people to make good decisions. If we know the in and out of the insurance, we know what's going to come down the pipeline, we can lay out the whole scenario for the patient, and we can also give them a proven success roadmap and a path to put them on, and then give them more value than they could ever ask for. That's how you get ahead of this whole iceberg scenario. But you can only do that if you're effective at communication. Because if I have all the value and I can't communicate, this is valuable for my patient, then my patient would never going to see the value in that.
Or if you don't take the time to communicate that.
Exactly.
You can't. You just think you're too busy to communicate that, to create that content, to put out that content, to communicate that, to build that trust. And the thing is, you don't know what it is that's going to build that connection and build that trust with a potential patient. It may be your methodology, your treatment methodology. It may be your knowledge about the insurance, pitfalls. You don't know what it is. And so you just have to create content and put it out there, again, to build that trust. And they're going to they're going to identify, because you're going to proactively share that additional information with them. That's just going to slowly build that trust, not just across one silo or one specific concern or objective that they have, but across all of them, which when you can do that effectively and you do that consistently, and it's not just you, but it's your entire team and your entire brand, it makes those conversations when it comes to price and presenting, treatment plans a whole lot easier, because you've already conveyed that value. You've showed them how you can be, that authority, so to speak, that one to provide the best solution across multiple potential objectives that they might have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just to kind of tie everything all together, if you are effective at communicating your value and you can point people in the right direction and also identify the obstacle that they're going to be dealing with or without you,
Mm-hmm.
and then get them to see like, hey, this is actually an investment on your health, rather than just paying money for it. Because at the end of the day, if you are truly sick and you're truly injured, at some point things will get worse. And once it get worse, that's when you start getting desperate. And then that's when you start, looking at surgical option. That's when you start going to hospital system. And that's when you end up with a big bill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think
I just want to highlight, you said they're going to face these problems with or without you.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure that's crystal clear, but then also highlight why it's better with you.
Yeah.
They're going to face these challenges with or without you, but with me on your side, I'm going to do all these things for you to fight for you, to be your advocate, to make sure you get the best results possible.
Exactly. And it's all started with a singular focus, which is taking care of the patient, and then having the right team and structure in place to make sure that you give them those resources. So when we are getting in a fight.
Oh, we lost Natty. Oh, there he is.
No, that's okay. Oh, shoot.
You're still up.
I'm still up. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I think that's
You dropped the mic.
I dropped the mic.
You said your thing and you dropped the mic and said, I'm out.
Yeah. So I'm back, right?
Yeah, you're back.
All right. Yeah. So I guess that was my final note, is to make sure that, again, people understand that they're going to get your help and your team help and the infrastructure that you build to help them solve all these problems and get the dream outcome they're looking for.
Yep.
Because that's all we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Great podcast, man. So I'll catch up with you next week. I mean, is that our last one before the year? Probably.
I think it depends. Depends how ambitious we want to be.
Yeah. All right. So that's really good. I think, dude, if we can get a thumbnail of just